Welcome to listening to stories on Kevin Tai TV audiobook channel. Chapter 2317, Sun Rusi's Feelings. Sun Rusi said, although I want to improve the soul cultivation technique, I won't be the one making the actual changes. You will, and I'll assist you. Tian Yang looked at her with a puzzled face. Aren't you the creator of the technique? He asked. Yes, but the technique is already complete in my eyes. Even if I want to improve it, I don't think I can. Therefore, I'll assist by helping you improve your understanding, and if you have any questions about the technique, I'll be able to answer them. Thus, Sun Rusi and Jing Ruye started living in Tian Yang's private world. A few days later, Tian Yang, I almost forgot. Sun Rusi suddenly approached him with a solemn look on her face. There's something I need to tell you. What is it? He looked at her with a raised eyebrow. It's related to the 3 pillars of heaven and the immortal clans. What? The immortal clans? They're still relevant? Tian Yang was genuinely surprised to hear their name after so long. He had assumed they had vanished from the world entirely, as no one had spoken of them since their downfall. Since he had never exterminated every last member of the immortal clans, they were undoubtedly still alive somewhere. However, they had weakened to such an extent that they could barely be recognized as an organization and went into hiding. Sun Rusi then spoke. Well, they had been in hiding ever since their downfall, so I'm not surprised you forgot about them anyway. Right before I left my family, I heard that they found the remnants of the immortal clans and offered to help them regain their footing.
What?
Tian Yang immediately frowned at this information. Why the hell would they do something like that? Sun Rushi shrugged. I don't know the details since I only overheard some of the elders in my family talking about it, and I'm only telling you because of your relationship with the immortal clans. Did you hear anything else? He then asked. She shook her head. What are you going to do? She asked a moment later. Tian Yang fell silent for a long minute before releasing a deep sigh. I have already claimed my debt from the immortal clans, so whatever they do from this point forth is no longer my concern, even if they are trying to rebuild. As long as they don't block my path, I'll leave them be. Sun Rushi smiled and teased, You've really grown up. Stop treating me like a kid. Sure. They returned to working on the soul cultivation technique. Time passed swiftly, and before they realized, over 100 years had passed since Sun Rushi started staying with Tian Yang. Rushi, we've been here for 100 years now, you know. Jing Ruye suddenly remarked as she poured Sun Rushi a cup of tea. What about it? Are you wondering when we'll return home? Sun Rushi asked. Well, I am curious about that, but that's not what I'm talking about. Jing Ruye said as she poured her own tea. After she took a sip, she continued, I'm talking about your progress with Tian Yang. Oh, the cultivation technique. We're making tremendous progress every session? Jing Ruye narrowed her eyes at Sun Rusi and asked, Are you actually that dense, or are you pretending to be stupid? Please don't mock me, Rusi. I have been aware of your feelings for him since our days at the Immortal Monastery, although I understood why you couldn't go after him before. Things are different now, no? That's Sun Rushi's expression stiffened at Jing Ruye's straightforwardness. Jing Ruye smiled faintly as she continued, Even if you claim you see him as nothing more than a little brother, now that you're both powerful cultivators who have lived for tens of thousands of years, there's no way you still view him as the same immature brat you once did. You may be a genius when it comes to creating techniques, but you're still a naive maiden at heart. Sun Rushi shook her head and sighed. In this vast world, you're the only one who would dare to talk to me in such a manner while knowing my background. Well, we're not sworn sisters for nothing, Jing Ruye chuckled. After a moment of silence, Sun Rushi spoke. Listen here, Ruye. Regardless of my feelings for Tian Yang, it doesn't change the fact that he already has a partner. Who am I to interfere in their relationship? Jing Ruye looked at her with a dumbfounded face. Is that concern what's preventing you from moving forward? Or is that just a convenient excuse for your cowardice? You know that men with power and influence rarely limit themselves to a single wife, right? Even your father is no different. Don't bring my father into this, and if you really think there's nothing wrong with it, why don't you approach him?" Sun Rushi sneered. Jing Ruye pointed at her own face and asked, "Are you really giving me permission to approach him?"
What?
Sun Rusi raised her eyebrows, looking confused. "To be honest with you, Tian Yang is very attractive. Not only is he one of the most powerful men in the world, but he's also handsome. If he weren't living a seclusive life, he would be surrounded by women. As for me, I have been single my entire life, so I have no problems approaching him. The only reason I've held back is because of you, Rusi. But if you truly don't mind me approaching him, then—" Sun Rushi stared at Jing Ruye, her best friend and sworn sister, with her mouth and eyes agape, looking bewildered by such a statement. Seeing her response, Jing Ruye decided to take things a step further. She quickly gulped down the rest of her tea and stood up. "Where are you going?" Sun Rushi asked. Isn't it obvious I have been single for long enough, and there's an attractive, handsome man so close? No, you can't have him. I forbid you." Sun Rushi suddenly slammed her teacup on the table, destroying both the cup and the table. Seeing this, a stiff smile tugged at Jing Ruye's lips. Chapter 23:18. Sun Rushi's feelings, too. Jing Ruye released a deep sigh a moment later when Sun Rushi refused to elaborate after her outburst. "You're really cruel, Rushi. Why are you forbidding me from approaching Tianyang when you don't even have any feelings for him? You're no different from a child not sharing a piece of candy that doesn't even belong to you." "Who said I don't have any feelings for him? I have had my eyes on him since the Immortal Monastery," Sun Rushi immediately replied. However, she'd subconsciously spoken, and when she realized what she had just said, her entire face flushed with redness. "Wait a second. That's not." Sun Rushi stopped midway when she couldn't think of an excuse. Jing Ruye touched the smug-looking smile on her face with a finger and teased. "Now that wasn't so bad, was it? Telling the truth, that is. I bet you feel like a mountain has been lifted off your shoulders now, especially when you've held such feelings in for so long." Sun Rusi opened her mouth, but no words came out. Then her face flushed even redder when she realized that she really felt lighter. "Now you just need to say that straight to Tianyang himself," Jing Ruye continued. "Impossible!" Sun Rushi exclaimed. Jing Ruye sighed. "Listen here, Rushi. Your feelings will remain non-existent until you actually tell him." Sun Rushi rubbed her eyes and sighed. "Although you've been with the Sun family for many years, there are still a lot of things you aren't aware of about my family, my bloodline. Even if I wish to embrace Tianyang, my bloodline forbids me from doing so." "That doesn't make any sense at all," Jing Ruye said with raised eyebrows. "Sorry, but this is something that I cannot share, even if it's with you." Sun Rushi fell silent after a single word. "Let's end this here. I'm tired." Sun Rushi didn't give Jing Ruye a chance to object and quickly disappeared into her room. A few months later, Tian Yang and Sun Rushi got together for another study session. "Is there something on my face?" Tian Yang asked when he noticed Sun Rushi staring at his face with a weird expression. "Ha, your face? No." Tian Yang noticed that something was off about her, but decided not to stick his nose into her business. He figured that if she wanted to tell him, she would. "Then let's begin." Despite her best efforts, Sun Rusi couldn't relax when in Tian Yang's presence. "Damn it, it's all Ruye's fault. If she hadn't tricked me into saying all those weird things, I wouldn't be like this. I can barely look at him in the eyes without blushing," she cried inwardly. For the next several days, Sun Rushi struggled to remain concentrated on improving the soul cultivation technique, as Tian Yang's presence constantly occupied her mind. From his scent to his handsome face, her mind would constantly wander to a weird place she'd never experienced before. "What the hell am I doing? I need to get rid of these useless thoughts." Eventually, Tian Yang could no longer remain oblivious and sighed. "Do you want to stop here? If anything is troubling you, I am willing to listen." Tian Yang's calm voice snapped Sun Rusi back to reality. Even though I'm supposed to be the mature one, she sighed inwardly. "Sorry, it's nothing. Let's continue." Sun Rusi managed to remain focused for the last several days. "Thanks for your time," Tian Yang said to her at the end of their session. "I have nothing but time," she calmly replied. "How long do you intend to stay here?" "Until I improve the technique." "That could take thousands of years. I don't care how long it takes, even if it takes 1,000,000 years. I'm going to see this through until the very end. After all, this might be the last time that I will have any true freedom," she revealed with a heavy sigh. Tian Yang frowned at her ominous words. "What do you mean by that?" "It's family matters," after a moment of silence. Tian Yang spoke. "Are your parents forcing you into a marriage?" Since this was a common problem within influential families, Tian Yang figured this might be the cause of Sun Rusi's concern. After all, she belonged to one of the top backgrounds in the world. "What?" However, Sun Rusi looked at him with a dumbfounded face. "Of course not. What even gave you such thoughts? I mean, isn't that a common trend among women from influential backgrounds?" Tian Yang asked. Sun Rusi sighed. "That's true, but do you know where I come from? The three pillars of heaven. There's no background more influential than ours, and arranged marriages are usually nothing more than political tools or ways to strengthen alliances. That being said, it's not like I have no pressure at all, especially these days where the three pillars of heaven are trying to spread their influence. I wouldn't be surprised if they are considering it. However, I'd rather die than be forced to live with someone I don't even like, and my family is very aware of that. Then it's because I ran away from home again, and this time it's much longer than before. Once I return, I'll definitely be grounded for a very, very long time." "Is that so?" Sun Rushi then teased, "What would you do if I were forced into an arranged marriage? Would you try to stop it?" Tian Yang fell silent for a bit before responding with a smile. "If you ask for my help, I'll do everything in my power to stop it." Sun Rusi's eyes widened, her gaze flickering with delight at his response. "I see," she muttered before standing up. "Then I'll see you again next time." However, instead of returning to her residence, Sun Rusi went to find Ren Xia. "Sorry for bothering you, but can we talk for a bit?" Sun Rusi asked Ren Xia after she answered the door. Chapter 2319. Sun Rusi's feelings. Seeing Sun Rusi standing before her, Ren Xia smiled and said, "Is this related to Tian Yang?" Sun Rusi hesitated for a brief second before silently nodding her head. Ren Xia chuckled. "I was wondering when you'd approach me. So, should I start calling you sister now?" "Huh," Sun Rusi stared at her with wide eyes filled with disbelief. Aren't you here to ask for my permission to approach Tian Yang?" Ren Xia tilted her head and asked. "Well," Sun Rusi swallowed nervously before asking, "Why are you acting so casual about this? Another woman is asking to share your partner, you know." "If I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be able to remain so calm." Ren Xia smiled and replied, "You may know my husband, but you don't know anything about me. Come inside, let's sit down first." Once they were seated, Ren Xia continued, "While I may seem calm and generous, I am actually a very selfish being. However, I am also rational, and I know that it's unreasonable for me to hog Tian Yang for myself. A man as charming and powerful as Tian Yang is destined to have multiple partners, and quite frankly, I'm shocked and blessed to have him to myself for so long. Anyway, I have already told him that if he were to find another lover, I wouldn't intervene as long as that woman is decent enough, so you can rest assured that I won't object as long as he accepts you." "I see. Thank you." Sun Rushi left shortly after. What a straightforward and charming individual. It's no wonder Tian Yang fell for her. Sun Rusi thought to herself as she returned to her own living quarters. Although she had received Ren Xia's approval, Sun Rusi didn't immediately approach Tian Yang. Not only was she not mentally prepared, but she still had to consider several things. Time continued to flow like an endless river, and in the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years had passed. Yet Sun Rushi's relationship with Tian Yang hadn't progressed in the slightest. "Hey, what are you doing?" Ren Xia suddenly approached Sun Rushi with a slight frown and asked, "It's been 1,000 years since I gave you my approval. So why aren't you doing anything? Sun Rushi sighed. I need time to mentally prepare myself. Although it's been 1,000 years, the time we spent together only adds up to a few years. I understand the first part, but you're just trying to make excuses in the second part. Renshaya then asked, what are you worried about, that he might not accept your feelings? Sun Rushi remained silent, but her answer was as clear as day. Renshaya spoke a moment later. I can almost guarantee you that he won't reject you. Even if he does, it's not the end of the world. Do you have any idea how many times he'd rejected me before he accepted me? Really? Sun Rushi looked at her with a surprised face, of course. Hearing such words, Sun Rushi suddenly felt more courageous. Fine. I'll talk to him during our next session, a few years later. Thanks for today. Tian Yang smiled at Sun Rushi after their study session ended. Hey, Tian Yang, I have a weird question for you. What is it? How do you see me? I don't quite understand. You know exactly what I'm trying to say. Sun Rushi interrupted. After a moment of silence, Tian Yang calmly responded. At first, you were like a mentor, but as we got closer, I started to see you as an elder sister. Sun Rushi spoke softly. Back then, you were just a reckless little troublemaker. Over time, though, I began to see you as a little brother. I do have a younger brother of my own, but we were never close, nothing like real siblings. You were the one who showed me what it truly felt like to have a brother. She smiled, a hint of bitterness in her expression. But these days, no matter how much I want to keep seeing you that way, I can't. Somewhere along the way, I started seeing you as a man, sister-son. Tian Yang's eyes widened at her words, and he swallowed nervously. Don't call me that anymore. Reclaced. No, Lo. Tian Yang fell silent, speechless at her unfamiliar behavior. You don't have to give me an answer right away, but I do hope that you'll be able to give me one before I have to leave. Not wanting Tian Yang to see her flushed face, Sun Rushi quickly turned around and began walking away. Wait. However, Tian Yang swiftly stretched his arm and grabbed her soft hand, stopping her movements. What is it? She asked in a nervous tone. You don't have to wait that long, since I will give you an answer now. Tian Yang suddenly pulled her toward him and directly into his embrace. Tian Yang. Sun Rushi glared at his handsome face with flickering eyes, and before she realized, her eyes began closing by themselves. Seeing her reaction, Tian Yang didn't hesitate and moved his head closer until their lips touched. After a moment of savoring each other's saliva, Tian Yang pulled back and said with a smile, This is my answer. What should I call you now, if not? Sister Sun. Just call me by my name. All right, Rushi. So, where do we go from here? After a moment of silence, Tian Yang smiled and said, We can take this slowly if you want. Tian Yang knew that she wasn't as straightforward and touchy as Ren Xia, so he didn't rush things with her. Okay, Sun Rushi nodded, her face still flushed. From that day onward, Tian Yang and Sun Rushi began meeting far more frequently. Their time together was no longer devoted solely to refining the soul cultivation technique, but also to gradually deepening their relationship. As time passed, Sun Rushi gradually shed her reserve and, following Ren Xia's advice, even began to take a more assertive approach. Then one day, Sun Rushi invited Tian Yang into her room, where their relationship took a step, several steps forward.